Hello there, hi knitters. Welcome to Collette Knits. I'm coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, just outside of Toronto, and it is Wednesday, March the 27th. So it's been over a month since I've last podcasted. I think this would be episode 4, and in that month, I think I last podcasted beginning of February. So since then, we've had Valentine's Day, which was uneventful. I don't really do much for Valentine's Day. My partner and I, we just kind of have a, day of watching The Walking Dead, which is great. But it's funny because I don't celebrate or do anything for Valentine's Day, but I do fall into a lot of consumerism, which would be buying chocolate after Valentine's Day on sale, or buying Valentine's themed yarn. So I do that, but I don't necessarily like to go to a restaurant, pay a lot of money for an expensive meal. And if you do, that's great. But I just don't really like the crowds, so we don't tend to do that. But one exciting thing that we did do over February was we went to we went on a big ski weekend with my family, with my extended family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, and some family friends. And we rent a chalet up in Haliburton, and it's very big. There's a hot tub, and it's right on the bottom of the ski hill called Sir Sam's Ski Hill. And we've been doing this a couple years now because one of my family members has a cottage up there. So we've been doing this for a couple years, and this year was the first year that there was babies. So that was exciting because 2 of my cousins have had babies in the last year, and a family friend of ours, they've had a baby as well. So there were lots of babies, which was very fun. So with all the baby stuff, and seeing the little baby feet and all their cute little baby outfits, while sitting there with my friend who also has picked up knitting, which is very exciting. So we sat knitting together, which is very enjoyable and kind of a funny sight, I think, for some people to see. Even though my cousins are really used to me knitting and watching me knit, it was just kind of funny to see 2 girls in their 20s knitting away at this ski chalet. So that was great. And it was really the perfect way to come in from the hill and just wind down with a glass of wine around people, around family. You don't have a lot of cell reception up there or no internet. So it's like, why not knit? And it was funny because I got a picture of my mom and my aunts and uncles. Everybody was watching the hockey game. And my mom and my aunts and uncles, they're all on their phones playing a game. And there I am knitting, and it was just funny. So, yeah, I was inspired by all the cute babiness and found a pattern. And I'm just fixing an end there. Sorry, I'm looking down fixing this end. I made a set of baby socks. So these are super cute, and it's been so long now that I've had them sitting here because I was gonna wait till I podcasted before I gave them to somebody. So I don't even know if the baby I had this in mind for, if they would fit anymore, but they're so cute. So this is a free pattern by Kate Atherley, and I believe it's just called Baby Socks. There's a lot of other good patterns out there too. I do believe that Nina Phillips from the Knitting Expat, she has a couple patterns, and she's got some really good sock patterns. I haven't knit any, but I do have them on my mind to knit in the future. So something funny that was happening on the weekend was the song Baby Shark, that's like so popular for babies and kids. That song was always being sung by somebody. And so I thought this was like Baby Sock Doo 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 rather than Baby Shark. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, so I really like these. They're really cute. I have no idea if they're gonna fit, but I knit the second size. So there's 3 sizes and I knit the second size. I mean, they're not gonna be walking in them, I don't think. So, and they probably kick their socks off mostly, but it's a really cute pattern. This would make a really good baby shower gift or something too, I think. And I think it'd be like a cute little thing to have if you made somebody baby socks and then they kept them for later just to ooh and ah over for, you know, at one point their baby's feet were this small that they fit into these tiny little socks. And I really like this color. This color is from Scrumptious Pearl, and it's called Mother of Dragons, which is a Game of Thrones reference. So I had this in my bag. I had this yarn in my bag because if I was able to finish some patterns, I would start a sock, an adult sock for me. Well, then I got into casting on these baby socks instead, didn't finish my February socks while I was up there, but I did get some knitting on them. So this is the yarn, Mother of Dragons. So I have tons left. So when I bought this, I did buy the contrasting heels and toes. So for an adult sock, I should have enough with the contrasting heels and toes, but I do worry because I used some of it for this. But I weighed these, and these were only 20 grams to make. So I think I'll be fine. And if not, I have tons of other options that are very close in color that I can use into the sock as well. Yeah, so that was my baby socks. I thoroughly enjoyed knitting those. And since then, I've casted on a larger size baby socks. And this is in Knit Picks. Don't remember the yarn or the label or anything, but it was just some Knit Picks that I had laying around. And it's definitely enough. This is a nice color too, a tealy green. Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed doing those. And what else? Oh, and another thing, and I actually forgot to bring it here, but I did make, on the way to the hill, so it was a 3-hour drive, I made a Sparrow Lake beanie, and the pattern's by Knit Brooks. It's an amazing pattern with just 1, maybe 2, depending on how, maybe your gauge, but it only took me 1 skein of chunky like loops and threads yarn from Michaels, and it just took 1 skein of that, and it's a Sparrow Lake beanie, and it's like a hat, nice and chunky with like a full, like a folded brim kind of, but not folded brim. You like knit into the brim. I don't even know how to explain it, but I made one for my coworker and she loved it. So then I made my second one, which was for me, and it only took me 3 hours, the drive. We were pulling into the driveway and I was like binding off and like securing the top of the hat. And I threw it in the back seat to my mom and said, "Look, I finished." And she was like, "Oh my God." So that was pretty funny. That my mom and my boyfriend were pretty amazed that I finished a big fat chunky hat in the car ride. We did drive through some snow, so it was probably a little over 3 hours of a drive, but it was great. So every time we got a little bit behind some traffic, I was just like, "Oh, thank God. Okay, keep knitting, keep knitting." So that was kind of funny. Yeah, so I did that. And then another item I made. So this is made out of the yarn that I won at the Toronto Knitters Guild. The very first Toronto Knitters Guild meeting that I attended, I believe was in January, and I won a prize. And I think I showed it on the podcast before, but I won 3 skeins of Dongal tweed or something. It's kind of like a worsted weight yarn. It's very woolly, and yeah, it's got these tweedy flecks in it. So the yarn is now discontinued, but I did find a pattern. So I did the Talus hat in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter that I showed you last time, and this time I used the same pattern, the Talus hat pattern, and used this yarn for it. And this is a hat for my mom. It's a little thicker than the Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which is great for this hat because with the Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, it you might need almost 2 skeins of yarn, but with this I actually had quite a bit left over, and I still have 2 full skeins that I could use for some other project. I probably could do a cowl using this mountain motif with this yarn, maybe for next winter. But yeah, and it's kind of nice on the dark yarn because it's a little subtle, but if you can see there's these mountains. Sorry if it's I'm sitting right beside the window. We don't have blinds on this window anymore, so I'm a little bit shiny, but I thought I'd podcast today because I haven't in quite a while. Oh, I'm drinking matcha out of my mug from Remembrance's Pottery, and I love this mug. It's so beautiful. And actually, I tried so hard to get one of these mugs on Etsy. They fly out of her shop. As soon as they're up, they fly out. So I've done reminders on my phone, alarms, everything. And one day, and she was doing an update for the Not for Rhinebeck shop update. A couple of makers did updates for that, where they filled their shops or gave a discount. I think they mostly filled their shops. I don't know if there's a discount code, but it was kind of a thing for folks not going to Rhinebeck to feel like they were getting in on the Rhinebeck wool fumes. And so that's when I got this mug. So what she did was she did updates, very small updates throughout the weekend, and only listed a couple things at a time to give people a chance rather than one huge update. And I did get this on one update, and the first mug I saw, I put it in my cart, and then by the time I got to the checkout, a whole bunch of people already had it in their cart, so I just checked out, didn't even look at the color. This is not a color I would usually pick. However, I love it, and I don't mind that it's not my usual color. But the funny thing about it is I drink matcha in this mug, and I don't think you can see, but my matcha is the same color as the mug. It's nice and green. So that was pretty funny that it's my true matcha mug because it's green with the knits. And actually, I love this mug so much, and I don't want it to go in the dishwasher. I don't think it would be suggested that it goes in the dishwasher. So after I use it, I wash it and I hide it in my yarn shelf because I don't want anybody else to touch it. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, so that is kind of what's been going on since I last talked to you guys. And another thing that I finished was my February socks. So I did work on these well, obviously the month of February. So these were socks for my sister. And the hat that I made my mom, I just finished right in time for spring. And I was like, I'm done, but you can't wear it until I podcast. So I've been holding the hat hostage. I've also been holding these socks hostage the whole month of March, really, because I finished them in end of February. So I've been asked a couple times for these socks, and I haven't let her use them. So here are her February socks. So these I knit 2 at a time, but not really 2 at a time, like concurrently. So it was like a Regia ball or something like that. I don't even know if it was Regia, but one of those kind of balled up yarns. 4-ply, like a good sturdy sock yarn, perfect for someone who might be hard on her socks, or she might not hand wash them, or yeah, so I think this is a good sock for her, a good base for her, for my sister, and I really like them. But I did do them, so I pulled from the center of the ball and knit that part on one set of needles, and then the outside of the ball on another set of needles. So I would just knit, and then get to the heels at the same time, and then the cuffs at the same time, because I did it toe up using the Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and that's a 6-inch cuff on those, leg on them. And I really like them. And then I had about this much left over. So this could be future somethings, maybe squares on my Cozy Memories blanket that I haven't touched in a while. We did go on a little ski trip after our big day, our big weekend. We went to Blue Mountain, my boyfriend and I, just for the day. And I brought my Cozy Memories blanket for knitting in the car. It was about an hour drive. But I think that's a really good way maybe for me to knit up on that Cozy Memory blanket. Car rides, long car rides. And we do a lot of long car rides. We just recently got a bigger, more comfortable vehicle for those long car rides. So when we drive to Nova Scotia, or in the summer if we go on trips, that'd be a great time to do the Cozy Memories blanket. But I didn't bring it here. You know what, let me go get it. I'll go get it and show you guys. I don't think I've shown my Cozy Memories blanket on here before. Okay, so my Cozy Memories blanket I started quite a long time ago, and work text. So my Cozy Memories blanket I started quite a long time ago, and I kept ripping it out and restarting it. I wasn't really happy with my yarn choices, and I also wasn't happy with my, I don't know, I just wasn't happy with it. So part of the thing was I was also, at the same time that I started this, I was doing the beekeeper's quilt, but I stopped doing the beekeeper's quilt because with the little hexie puffs, I didn't enjoy knitting them as much. And when I had a whole bunch of hexie puffs, I just thought, I'm never gonna seam these together. I don't know how to sew. I'm not that good at mattress stitch. I'm never gonna put these all together. So I ripped out all my hexie puffs that I had made, and then I put them into my Cozy Memories blanket. But there were a lot of partial little pieces, so there's a couple that are pretty, like this one, that's 3 different little mini skeins. So a lot of these are from, back in the day I was doing the Knit Crate mini skein subscription, where this is from Knit Crate 2, where I was getting a bundle of mini skeins once a month. This is actually a Nomadic Yarns self-striping sock, Birdie Bots it's called. This first 3 stripes is. So it was pretty random, and I don't know, there's no uniform to it, there's nothing to it, it's just super duper random, which I guess is good, because so I eventually accepted the fact that it's going to be a very, very random blanket. Once I accepted that fact, it became a lot easier to knit because I stopped planning and everything was just very random. So I would just reach my hand in the bag and pull out a mini skein. Now, or a little bit of scraps, and I've done it with advent swaps, fiber share swaps, tons of stuff. So I have a super random project, which is this. I think it's gonna look cool probably when it's done, but one thing I'm having a hard time with, that I don't know why I started it this way, but like I have so many ends. There's no rows, there's no uniform in the ends either. And right here what's happening is I'm actually on a big circular needle. I'm knitting 2 squares at the same time. Oh, and check this out. I found this on Etsy. I searched Boston Terrier stitch marker, and this came from pretty far, and it took like 3 months to get here because it sat in customs forever, but I got like 4 of them, and they're so cute. And they're like our dogs. They're so cute. So I do love the Cozy Memories blanket. You want to see how the stitch marker looks like my dog? This is him, one of them. The other one's sleeping in the sunshine. You say hi, Bowser? Want to say hi? He's not happy I woke him up. You say hi. This is Bowser. And yeah, my stitch marker looks like Bowser, if I can find it. And there's this podcast called Knitting Relentlessly. And one of the podcasters, Carla, she has also 2 Boston Terriers. So I sent her one of these stitch markers because I also have 2 Boston Terriers. And that's a podcast. They're out of British Columbia, 2 friends who knit together and Skype and podcast. So that's kind of cool. So I'm trying to square off the blanket, which would be knit 1 row of, finish like 1 piece of this, and I might even stop once I get this bottom half squared off. I might stop for a little while. I do like this blanket because because now that I've accepted the fact it's super random, it is a good random project. But I don't know. These are where my mini skeins are, and little balled up pieces of yarn are living. And this is a great bag. I actually got this, we did Secret Santa at my work, and one of the girls that got me for Secret Santa, she took a little trip to Michael's and she found tons of knitting stuff, which was so cute and so sweet. And she said she really enjoyed shopping for my Secret Santa gift. So that's kind of cute. So yeah, that's my Cozy Memories blanket. But I do want to start another Cozy Memories blanket. And what I want to do is, this blanket is just the Cozy Memories, C-O-S-Y Memories. It's a free pattern. And in that, she uses DK yarn. And I find that the way that she does the decreases with the DK yarn looks a lot better than with fingering weight, because with the fingering weight, I would like to have more of a definite line down the center of my mitered squares, but I don't. So I actually signed up for Knit Stars, which is a program where you, it's not cheap, but you can get deals or look at the right time and get like sign up and save a little bit of money. Or sign up for one and get a discount on Knit Stars previous that they've done. So in my Knit Stars one that I signed up for, Koigu, the makers of Koigu, the yarn, which is Koigu. They're Canadian. Yay! They have some good videos and free patterns. So when you sign up for Knit Stars, you get videos from different makers. So like Andrea Mowry has a video, and Stephen West, and I think Stephen West's video, I haven't watched it yet, but it's Brioche. So learning Brioche with Stephen West is kind of cool. And then you also get some of their patterns. So I think I get like it's not necessarily free because you did pay for the package, but you do get a lot of really great patterns. So with the Koigu, they do a video of how to do their mitered squares, and then you also get their patterns of mitered square projects. So there's like blankets, shawls, and the way they do their mitered squares is a little different, but you get this really definite line across your diagonal square. So I want to cast on another blanket with the Koigu method, and it's not actually the Koigu method, it's just that that's the first time I've seen a video on how to do the mitered squares that way. So I would consider it like the Koigu way, even though it's not. I'm sure other people do it the same way, but I've never seen it that way before. And I want this second mitered square blanket to be more planned. So I've been getting row 1 yarns. So you get like some mini skeins of different makers to try out different bases, their base. So this one that I got last time was Lady Men Fiber Arts, and I think it's like 20 grams or 20 yards of different colors of theirs. So I kind of want to, and you get 10, I think, of these little mini skeins. So I think it'd be cool to do, I did pause my row 1 yarn subscription because I haven't actually done anything with these yet. So I paused the subscription, and even with my subscription paused, I talked to the ladies that run it, and they're so nice. They respond so quickly to emails. They're wonderful. And actually there is a sign up promo that I will link to below. I think Grocery Girls has a code because their row 1 is a sponsor of the Grocery Girls podcast. So I do believe that the Grocery Girls have a code in their podcast of like $10 off your first sign up or something, which is how I found out about row 1 is from the Grocery Girls. So what I want to do is I want to do like the mitered squares 10 across with each month's yarn. So far I've paused the subscription, and once I actually start this mitered square blanket, which won't happen until after my other mitered square one is done, or my cozy memory blanket is done. So, I mean, we're talking months from now, really. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be faster. Maybe I'll be better. Who knows? But what I want to do is I want to knit with, like 10 across from all of that month's yarn, and then just keep going, 10, 10, 10. So right now I have 5 months of minis, so that would be, I have like 50 minis that I could do the cozy memory with. So that would keep me very busy. And some of these are just gorgeous. Some of these makers or dyers I've never heard of before, like Traveling Yarn. So what a great way to try different yarns. Also, another thing would be you could use these as like heels, cuffs, and toes, or like scrappy socks. I've seen a lot of scrappy socks on Instagram. That's also an idea. But I love them. Like, I love all these colors. Like, just a whole blanket of these colors in this palette would be amazing. I just think it'd be really cool to do that. So, yeah, I'm gonna eventually start my row 1 blanket. That's what I'll call it, is my row 1 blanket. And then maybe what I could do is I would have, if I had a little bit of yarn left over from each square, I could make a magic knot ball and then put those yarns into something else. That'd be kind of cool. So, yeah, that's really more so vicarious knitting, I should say, because this isn't happening for a while. But thinking of this makes me really want to finish my first Cozy Memories blanket. And I think I'll square off that blanket, and I'll keep coming back to it when I have super random bright colored minis that I can put into it. And I do. I have lots of super bright random color leftovers, like for my socks I did. This is a magic knot ball starting up. So yeah, that's the plan. I love mini skeins, and I think that the reason I love them so much is they don't take up a lot of room, and they're really easy to buy, and all these dyers are doing them, and they don't take up a lot of room until they're taking up a lot of room. That kind of sneaks up on you pretty quickly. But yeah, so that's that. And then my current whips. So I have a lot of current whips. Technically, all those bags up there are abandoned works in progress. Except for this Clinton Hill cashmere bag. I haven't started that sweater yet. This is a jar full of minis. That's a shawl, socks, baby blanket, hat, shawl. And then that last bag there is the sweater quantity of We Are Knitters yarn. So I have a lot of works in progress that I should be doing. I'm not really sure how to organize my works in progress. What do you guys do to organize your works in progress? Let me know down below. Do you have a lot of whips on the needles? Are you a progress knitter or a process knitter? I think I just love to knit, and I'll just knit anything. But I do love the finished item at the end of it. I think my challenge this year that I'm going to have is I'm a relatively new sock knitter, and I've given myself the goal to knit 1 pair of socks every month. So my sock knitting is taking over. The sock, it's great. I love it. I'm loving knitting these socks, and I'm finding I'm getting pretty quick at them. But I mostly knit on my commute, so socks are perfect to take on the train. Sometimes you're squished in there, and I'm like, I'm still gonna knit. Sorry, folks. Like, squished in there, I'm still knitting. But knitting like one of these baby blankets or shawls, it just wouldn't work so well. So I do really like the socks. And right now I have in my new Sandy by the Lakeside bag, or by the Lakeside bag, I love this bag. It's so cute. And this was one of her bags that she did for Vogue Knitting Live, but she had leftovers after. So kind of another thing where I just so happened to stumble in the shop at the perfect time, just like with my mug, and I snagged a bag. I kind of was kicking myself after because I don't really need any sock size bags. So I was really regretting that I didn't get the shawl size, because that would have been like, I could have fit a couple more things in it. It just would have worked better. But don't worry, because at the end of April, the Toronto Knitters Frolic is happening, and she will be a vendor there. So I might get my chance to pick up a By the Lakeside shawl size bag. Yay. So these are my socks for March. And I do know that we're at the end of March, but I'm feeling good. I feel like I'll be able to finish these. So yeah, this end of the week, I'll be mostly doing my socks, which doesn't leave much other time for my other whips. But that's okay, because I really enjoy socks too. So something kind of funny here is when I'm doing my socks, I tend to go between magic loop and 9-inch circs. So here I did most of the foot with 9-inch circs. And then I got to here, get to my heel, and I put everything onto magic loop to do the heel, to do the fish lips kiss heel. And then I got to here and I put it back on my 9-inch circs. And I was knitting in the wrong direction. Not the wrong direction, but I knit, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm a thrower or a picker or what I am, but usually I knit with taking the yarn and taking it like under the needle, like this. And I got pretty far and then realized, oh, I was knitting differently. And rather than putting the yarn underneath the needle, I was actually putting the yarn over the needle, like this. And putting it over the needle like that is actually how I first learned to knit from YouTube videos. And then somewhere along the way, I must have just gotten comfortable with putting it underneath the yarn, because I try to do, I try to knit continental sometimes. I try to mix that into a project, but I haven't gotten quite comfortable with it. So here I've ended up with some sort of like twisted stockinette, I think. And I didn't care. I thought, oh well. I mean, you can see it when it's this close. You can tell that I've done something a little different here than I have down here. But when it's this far, you can't tell. All you can see is these beautiful stripes. So this is Cozy Knitter sock yarn in her Bliss base, and this is the colorway called Kiss the Girl, and I love it. I think it's so nice and so springy. I just really enjoy this. So this is the second socks from the Cozy Knitter that I've done. I did my advent calendar socks in her yarn, and I really like her stuff, which is good because I have a lot of it. I did her club at one point, before I was a sock knitter, so I got really sucked in with all this self-striping yarn, bought lots of it, and didn't feel comfortable knitting socks. So now I'm feeling comfortable knitting socks, and I'm gonna just go through that stash. So that's great. And I'm also tempted by her yarn because she will be also at the Toronto Knitters Frolic. So maybe I'll pick up some more. I'm trying to really knit through my stash, so maybe I won't. Just depends on what she has. Some of her colorways I already have, so if she has something I really want and I don't have, I might get it, but I just think it'd be really cool to meet Christina, say hi, and tell her how much I love her yarn, which she will be hearing a lot of at the Toronto Knitters Guild. So if you haven't heard of her, which I'm sure you have, because if you're listening to podcasts or watching podcasts, you for sure have seen her socks on other podcasts. This is her color. This is her colorway Huga, and it's so nice. Also super springy. I actually should knit this soon. This would be really pretty. Great for socks. And then this is another one called Celebrate the Night, which I think is a kind of like a New Year's sock, and it's like stripes, so like black stripes and all these colorful stripes. So she has some really nice yarn. So that's just like 2 skeins I pulled out of my stash that I have of hers. I really like her yarn, so I'm excited that she's going to be at the Toronto Knitters Frolic because she is a Canadian dyer. She's very local to me. Her and Sandy from By the Lakeside, they are both very local to me, and I would love to knit with more local stuff. I know it's not always possible, and there's so many good dyers out there and makers out there, but when I was looking for self-striping sock yarn, paying a lot of shipping or duties, because self-striping sock yarn is already a little bit more expensive sometimes because there's so much more work that goes into creating these like perfect even stripes. It's so much more work, so to me finding a dyer that was close to me was really important, so that was kind of cool. Another dyer with self-striping sock yarn I love is Scrumptious Pearl, and this is actually going to be my April socks, and I'm going to make these for my boyfriend, who is pretty well the same size as my foot, so that won't be a problem. And this is the colorway Lucille. So I actually laid out all my sock yarn, and he picked this one. And I said, that's so funny, guess what this is called? And I said, it's called Lucille, which is a game of, it's a Walking Dead reference, and we love watching The Walking Dead. So I just thought it was funny that he picked that one. And then while all the yarn was laid out, my mom picked this one. So maybe I'll do this for May socks. And this is called Fall Haze. And this is also Scrumptious Pearl, who is a dyer out of, I think she's in Montreal, but she's still in Canada, so that's great. So yeah, that's my sock whips and my sock woes, because my socks are taking up the majority of my knitting time, which is on public transit. So when I get home at night, I've been kind of trying to knit through and knit my new shawl that I've cast on. This is in a Bling Your String bag that I got at a previous Knitters Frolic. One thing I love about this bag is it has a little handle, and it has this drawstring that's not your average drawstring. You can tighten it up. I just find it really easy. And another thing I like about it is it came with, but it came with stitch markers on this little clip on the outside of the bag. Now, I really like this feature, but it worries me having this feature on the outside of the bag. What I have done is I put a row counter on it though. So one thing I really like about it is you have your row, I have put my row counter on the outside of my bag, so every time I make it to the end of a row, I can just mark it, and I don't have to open the bag or carry around a row counter. But I do worry that these little stitch markers are going to get snagged or fall off. So I have not yet had a problem with it, but it's just a worry I have. I'll probably put the little stitch markers on a pouch on the inside of the bag. But what I'm making is a shawl kit that I got at a previous Knitter's Frolic, the Junction Shawl. And this was a kit from Yarns Untangled. That's where I purchased it from, and it was a, actually I purchased it through the Feisty Fibers booth. And what it is it's a bunch of mini skeins, Feisty Fibers mini skeins, to make this shawl. This sample, I believe, is knit in Blue Brick, which also would do beautiful in this shawl, but I got this kit. So these are my minis, and then this nice tealy blue. And yeah, it's just stockinette with little garter ridges, which means that it's knitting and purling and knitting and purling. But it's happening, I'm going through it fairly quickly, I think. I don't really know. The goal with this is that the Toronto Knitters Guild, they have a make-along called De-Stash Restash. And the goal is that you make stuff that you've bought at previous frolics, you knit up the yarn from previous frolics, or you knit with yarn that is going to be with a vendor that will be sold at the frolic. So if you've never been to a frolic before, you could knit with any of the tons and tons of vendors, and they have on their website a list of all the vendors that are attending. I have been to a couple Knitters Frolics, and I have joined the guild, so if you've ever bought anything at the guild, most of those people that have been at the guild, they set up a little booth, and then they have a little shopping center each monthly meeting at the guild. So if you've been there, you might have some yarn from, let's say, Yarn Indulgences or Feisty Fibers. So chances are most people in the guild have yarn from a vendor. But if you don't, there are so many vendors, and like for me, that's why this bag is great, because this bag is an entry to their make-along on their Ravelry site, because Sandy will be vending at the show. Also, Bling Your String is a vendor, so this bag would also count because I'm using a bag from a previous vendor. But I'm also using yarn with my socks from a current vendor who will be at the show this year. So my March socks will count for the make-along. If I finish this shawl, I will have a shawl to wear to the frolic, which is wonderful. It can get pretty hot in there because of all the people, all the bodies. So a sweater isn't necessarily what I'd like to wear to the frolic, but a shawl would be perfect. Now, will I finish the shawl by April 27th, which is exactly a month away? I'm not sure, because I'm doing my socks. But if I do, this will count for a entry in the make-along, because it's knit with Feisty Fibers, who is a past vendor and a current vendor this year, and then I will have a beautiful shawl to wear. One thing I did last night when I was knitting on it is I switched colors and forgot to do the little garter ridge on this color change. And it's only 10 rows back, but I'm not ripping it out. I don't care enough to, and it doesn't bother me. And when the shawl is on, it'll be folded up around my neck, so I'm not too concerned. So yeah, so I'm really excited. Those are my current whips that I am actually actively working on, that have had progress since I've last seen you. Yeah, other whips, like I have shawls up there, baby blankets, and a pair of socks up there. The shawls are not in a place that I could travel with them. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. And the baby blankets are a little bit too big to travel with as well. So what do you guys do for your whips? Do you, Sharon, who has a podcast that I'll link down below, she does every 6-day intervals of 1 day for socks, 1 day for shawl, 1 day for a garment, 1 day for scrappy projects, 1 day for a blanket. She does that throughout 6 days, rotating. And then a day, I guess the 7th day, I think she has a choose day for herself, like where she gets to choose what she does. I'm not sure. But that's how she manages her multiple whips. that's a good idea, and maybe that's something I would do, plan days for knitting. Now, where that, I don't know if that would work for me, because I might only get an hour of knitting in the evening, and I don't know if that's enough for me to really dig into a project. So another thing I thought of was doing 2 days of, like, maybe I'll knit on the train and on the commute to work, but then when I'm home and I have time, I'll get 2 evenings assigned to a certain project and then go to another project the next evening. That might give me enough time to, like, dig into the project and experience it, and then, like, pick up the next project after to just get it done. Or do I just knock them out and get them done? I get kind of bored of them, which is why I then cast on things like baby socks, baby hats, end up doing a mitered square instead. So I don't really know what to do to keep it interesting, but I do really, really, really want to finish my turtle dove sweater, even though now it is right in time for spring. But if I finish it now, I will have it completed and ready for next winter. I could just stop and pick it up next winter, but what if my gauge changes? What if I'm not really knitting the same by then? I'd like to just finish it now. So that is my biggest goal, to finish my turtle dove sweater. I haven't gotten much progress on it, and then from when you last saw it. And then I really want to cast on a Winslow sweater with the Clinton Hill cashmere that I won from the Knitting Loft on their grand opening raffle. So I'd love to win that. Sorry, I'd love to start that Winslow sweater. The sweater might be a little advanced for me, but I did contact the lady from Clinton Hill Cashmere and asked her about the pattern a little bit more, and she was so helpful and responded right away. She was amazing. So I feel a little bit better to start that Clinton Hill Cashmere sweater. Also, the Knitting Loft, the ladies there, one of the ladies has knit it before, so she will be able to give me any tips or pointers if I have them, I think. But yeah, so that I feel a bit better about that. So I really, really want to cast it on, but I have to finish the turtle dove first. So yeah, that's happening. And what else? I want to talk about what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing the honeycomb cowl. I'm not sure who it's by, but I'll link it down below. And this is using the blue brick yarn in the Peggy's Cove color. And I bought this from Yarns Untangled in Toronto and Kensington Market. And what really, really spoke to me was what Blue Brick does, and I'll show you because I actually just got a skein of her yarn, and I would like to get some more. And they're actually a vendor at the Toronto Knitters Frolic. So maybe I will get more, or maybe I won't. But what I'll do, so the Blue Bricks booth every year is just crazy. People are lining up to get in. They are pushing and shoving while they're in her booth. It is insane. So if I don't get a chance to hit up the booth, I do know that I could order it online when I'm ready for it, when I'm actually ready to buy yarn, or if I wanted to give myself a little birthday gift in June, I could. So I'm thinking of that. So I did just buy this, and what I really want to get is she has sock yarn that is the ombre kind of color. I really would like her rose gold sock because it's two smaller skeins of matching yarn, so you'd have a gradual transition. So the color is rose gold, and I think that they would be really, really pretty, so I really want to get that. But I did kind of like indulge and get her Blue Brick Killarney sock in the colorway Eggshell. And what she does is, with some of her colors, she has a photograph that she is inspired to make yarn with, and they're always gradients, or they're usually gradients. She has tonals as well and other stuff, but this is so stunning, and a lot of people have seen this on podcasts. One podcast I saw it on was Stitch Mischief, and that's what really made me just get it. And, you know, she's also in the GTA, so she's not too far from me. So if I did want to order her stuff, and if I don't get a chance to hit up her booth, I could always get something later. but if I can get it at the Frolic, great. But I'm not going to, we'll see. We'll see how busy her booth is and if she has the one I want. So, this is Peggy's Cove, and it is so stunning. I just love it. And what really drew me to it was the photograph that came with it, which I don't have anymore, but it's Peggy's Cove is a beautiful lighthouse in Nova Scotia. And when my boyfriend and I lived there, we really liked going to Peggy's Cove. We have lots of great pictures of us there, some great photos of our dogs there, where I took a photo from underneath and the dog looks like huge lit up by the lighthouse. It's pretty cool. So when I saw this, I had to get it. I love it. Now this cowl, I believe, calls for a DK weight. So with the numbers that they have, you could do the smaller size, which would be tighter to the neck, which I don't know why I didn't do it, but I didn't. Or you could do the larger size, which would actually drape longer down and be, you could wrap it around. So I didn't use a fingering weight. Sorry, I didn't use a DK weight. I used a fingering weight, and it's a little bit snug when I do wrap it around. And you know what? I've never actually blocked this. Maybe I should, because it rolls a lot. I think all my problems would be solved if I blocked this. This probably wasn't the best stitch count that I cast it on. I don't even know what it was, but it probably wasn't the best for this yarn. Maybe a little stiffer yarn would work, but you know what? This was in my very early knitting days, and I actually think this is my first project knit in the round. So you know what? I should be really proud of this, and I am. It's beautiful slip stitches with purling, and it's really nice, and it's so beautiful with an ombre. So it's actually a pattern I might knit again, because I do remember enjoying it when I did knit it. So yeah, this is a really nice one. So this is made out of blue brick in Peggy's Cove, and actually last year at the Frolic I wore this, and I'm totally drawing a blank on her name, but the lady who does blue brick, she does it and her husband helps her out. I was waiting in line to enter the booth, and her husband goes, "Oh, is that Peggy's Cove?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." He goes, "Oh, it looks great." So I was just like, oh, that's awesome that they recognized the yarn right away. So that was really cool. Yeah, so I'm really excited for the Knitter's Frolic, as you can tell, and it's making my knitting mojo just spike up, because I really want to finish this shawl, but I also have to finish my socks and then start my new socks. So I have so much I have to knit. Yeah, so I hope I get to talk to you guys before the Frolic. That's the goal, because I would like to maybe talk about the vendors that are going to be there, and a little bit more about the make along and some stuff that we'll see, because I'm running on an hour right now, and I have a lot more I have to say. So I hope to come to you before the Frolic and tell you all about it, and maybe by then have some progress, more progress on this shawl, and my socks will be finished. So the Frolic is exactly a month away. Can I finish this yarn? Can I finish this shawl by then? I don't know. We'll find out. Thanks guys for watching, and all the links to find me you can find down below. Please leave any comments, thumbs up, subscribe. I just love talking to myself about knitting, and it feels great because I'm just talking to myself right now. And when you guys comment below, it's like, oh my god, people are actually watching and listening, and it's kind of building up this little yarny community, which I didn't know was so cool, but it really is. So yeah, with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, bye.